IJ Blunt, and if you're joining me live here, this is my channel IJ or Tell IJ, and this is a channel just where we talk about real life issues and tips and stories and sometimes reviews. So I just thought I'd jump in this beautiful Sunday afternoon in London to bring to you just my thoughts on the past few days' events. Again, this is Tell IJ, and if you are here for the first time, please support my new channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends and family so they get to know about this channel. And of course, if you do have a story to share, please by all means get in touch. Okay, let's get started. I didn't really plan to come on live, and I just thought, as I kind of thought over the last few days' events, for those of us who are British in London, and those of you who are mourning with the British people from wherever you are around the world, thank you and God bless you. As you can see the title, I was struggling with what title to give this, as I struggled to find the right words to pay tribute to our late Queen Elizabeth II, who passed on the 8th of September 2022 at the beautiful age of 92. I kept thinking of the words and words I really wanted to say. And without much ado, I thought even for a few minutes, I met a lot of people today earlier in our church service. It was heartwarming to see how many people, both white and black, brown and blue, who really love their Queen and who really have made this beautiful country called the United Kingdom their home. And some of them actually tried to be in the long queues, and a couple of them said they gave up after 5 or 6 hours. And the lady came out on our church altar to talk about she and her husband waiting for a little over 12 hours. Now that gives you an idea as to the love the people have for the Queen, our little Queen. Now, where do I start? I want to start, first of all, as I said earlier, we unexpectedly somehow, though some people had a little clue with all the reports we were hearing about the Queen and her health, but then I, for one, was quite surprised because we all saw her 2 days or so before her passing, still working, just like she dedicated her life at the age of 21 and promise of 22, that however long or short her life was going to be, that she was going to serve this country with all her heart and might. And the beautiful thing about our Queen Elizabeth II was she always put God first. Now, why do I want to come here for a short time and talk to some of you about the Queen? Well, for the following reasons. As I sat down, as I said, and reflected over the last few days, I cannot but help myself in proudly and openly telling you people watching this. This has been one of the periods I have been so grateful, so privileged, so blessed to be a part of this wonderful nation called Great Britain, United Kingdom of Great Britain. As a British person myself, who has adopted this country as my home, I have come to love the royal family for what they stand for, especially the Queen. Many of us growing up in these sort of Commonwealth countries, wherever you may be in the world, we all heard of the Queen. In fact, I myself went to secondary school back then in Nigeria called Queen's School in Enugu. So if you're a Queen's School lady watching this, You understand where I'm coming from? And we were so proud of our school and the history behind the name. As it was told, it was in 1953 when the Queen Elizabeth, or the young Queen Elizabeth, visited Nigeria. There were many black and white photos of her dancing with the Premier of Nigeria at the time, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, now late. And in honor of the Queen visiting Nigeria, they named the school that started in 1952 or 53, Queen's Secondary School, Enugu. And indeed, almost everybody I've come to know who passed through Queen's School was a true and is a true Queenite. We carried ourselves with elegance, just like the Queen would have. My principal at the time was shall I use the word, white British lady, Mrs. Iwobi, who was obviously married to a Nigerian engineer. But that aside, I found myself never in a million years. I've been to Windsor Castle. I've paid so much attention to so many documentaries around the royal family, especially Queen Elizabeth. But let me rein it in because I just want to focus on these last few days the Queen passed. And the reason I wanted to make this video is to commend, admire, encourage the amazing, impeccable organization of this funeral that is ongoing, yet to be completed in 2 days or tomorrow by God's grace. And as we've heard, the Queen herself had a part to play in the organization of her funeral. From the moment it was announced in London that the Queen Elizabeth II had passed, you could not but admire the very smooth way, the transition and everything from the Queen. We are now all getting used to saying King Charles III. We, all over the world, in United Kingdom and anywhere you were in the world, would have seen the processing of what went on after the Queen died, from King Charles III going to Scotland, from Scotland to Wales, even Northern Ireland, and of course England, and being proclaimed openly and in a traditional British way, the King of England and United Kingdom. There was not a hitch in place. Of course, we had a couple of days of some moron, some crazy man who tried to rush out the Queen's coffin as he stood vigil, but luckily the officials there were able to wrestle him and get him out of the way. But the truth is, you hear and see on television from the smooth, effortless way it's been organized up to a T. Transformation from us getting used to going from Queen and country now to King and country. And followed on to the way, even the Queen laying in state, the way everything had been so well organized. We saw people in queues, some people it took them 6 hours, then some 8 hours, then 12 hours. And of course, we heard about David Beckham, who actually I have to commend. Yes, we all heard about David Beckham being amongst the people in the queue to pay their homage to the Queen. But it was until I was in church today, as they showed on video the bit where David Beckham was captured. And one thing that struck me, and well done to David Beckham, and this is a beautiful thing about the country we live in, United Kingdom. We never like to bring the spotlight on us. He was more or less in what I personally would have said was like a mild little disguise. And good for him. Because can you imagine if he was your typical certain person and people recognize him, it would have taken the attention away from what the people were there really to do. And I like the way we were later shown yesterday, the Queen's children, then her grandchildren, and now we heard that hopefully they might allow um, Prince George to go and view his great grandmother's vigil, which I hope they do, because after all, he's 9 years old. At 9, you know a lot. And I don't see why not as a potential ruler after his father, William, when the time comes. And so it touched many people around the world. And looking at the way everything has been so well organized, it's been amazing. It's been exemplary. And you cannot but help and wonder, for all those countries around the world, well, hopefully someone somewhere will learn to pick up on some of these things, and not just people or countries around the world. If you're watching this, even you on the personal level, me on my personal level, isn't it a wonderful way to learn how to organize our lives, organize the things around us, and have beautiful things turn out when we actually put our minds to something and organize our thoughts and actions? And as we know, the Queen, the vigil queue is now closed, we understand, except for the few people left, and as they go on because of preparation for her funeral in Westminster Abbey tomorrow. As we have come to learn, there will be a funeral service in Westminster Abbey for the Queen, but we know that the Queen herself, her body, will be buried alongside with her sister, Princess Margaret, and her parents, King George VI. And this will be in the chapel that was built in 1969 by King George VI. And so, hopefully, by God's grace, the Queen will be finally resting in place tomorrow with her family, her mother and father and everyone. And of course, some people speculated that she was going to be buried with Prince Philip, her husband of 73 years. Prince Philip, as we all know, is actually currently buried in the vault, in the royal vault there in Westminster, and rather at Buckingham Palace. But after the Prince's funeral, we've come to understand, according to protocol and planning, that Prince Philip's body will be respectfully exhumed some days after and taken to lay to his final rest beside his wife, our late Queen Elizabeth II. In fact, I came across the Scotsman online, and if I may read this to you, for those of you who may be too busy to follow what is exactly going on, and we've come to realize, let me see, okay, so we say we've been told that the day of the funeral, of course, like I said, will be a bank holiday for those of us in United Kingdom. And what else that? Okay. Yes, yeah. So she'll be buried in Westminster Abbey, but this will be in and where the chapel of King George VI chapel that was actually built or started being built in 1969. So after her funeral at Westminster Abbey on September 19, the Queen's coffin will be transferred to Windsor Castle. So Windsor Castle, those of you watching from wherever you are in the world, Windsor Castle is one of the Queen's castles, of course, where she spent a lot of her time, and which is like westwards outside sort of London. And so it will be transferred there, and which is about 20 minutes outside central London. The Queen will be buried there as part of a long history of burials at the site, including 10 former sovereigns. So we, the British people, are looking forward to tomorrow, being the 19th of September. And the title said here about what lessons we learn from the Queen's passing. I would say, if you are a country or a person, it rather emphasizes the beauty of organization, organizing oneself. And if you're a person, especially for certain beliefs or races, I hope you're further convinced as to the beauty of even getting involved and thinking ahead of your life. What would I like to happen to me if I was not alive? Especially for those of you watching this, if you're even anywhere near your 60s, 70s, what is it that some people or most people tend to be frightened of? Organizing their lives. And in many families, you end up having people bickering about funeral costs, who contributed more, who contributed less. But look at the Queen. It's not about having money. It's not about having class. It was about a woman that, and a country that has mastered the beautiful way of organizing such a beautiful funeral. That even people, head of states are coming in tomorrow. Many people are coming in, but they are all taking charge, putting police officers in place, putting people, guards, everything. It's not easy, but they do it. And the lesson we can learn from Queen Elizabeth as a woman when she was alive, even long before her passing, I, for one, came to love everything about the royal family, even despite any issues with her children or any scandals. For me, the focus has always been Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth II, that woman was amazing. She was an epitome of stability. She was an epitome of what loyalty meant. She was loyal to her country, to her people, her sovereigns, her family. She was an epitome of what a true leader is, a leader who served her people. She served her people with all her heart and might. I learned the Queen. She was the Queen, she was the wife, she was the mother, she was the grandmother and great-grandmother. Yet the Queen carried herself with such mysterious grace that any one of us with any little intelligence can only try our best to emulate. It's not a thing of just generation. In fact, it would be a great thing if this millennial generation could even learn the patience, the intelligence, the humility that our Queen Elizabeth II exuded wherever she went. And people, even the tallest of leaders from any most powerful nation in the world, found themselves humbled in front of our Queen Elizabeth II. As it's been reported, you never found our Queen openly talking anything political or letting the people know which side she was siding or not siding. Instead, the woman had the grace and diplomacy of dealing with things in such a smooth, wonderful, respectful, reverent manner. The Queen would have taught us as a wife and a mother what it meant that even though she held the highest prestigious title in the whole of the United Kingdom and the world, she was still able to differentiate and act and hold herself and her husband, or late husband, Prince Philip, with love as a wife, as a mother, with such care and love to her grandchildren, to her great-grandchildren, and to the nation as sovereigns. She exuded such respect without forcing it, basically. The Queen was such a natural, humble person that the aura we've come to hear from those who were so lucky to have met her, she exuded such respect and reverence. We could all learn that. Because often, especially in this millennium age, once people have a little bit of money or power, what do we want to do? We want to oppress, we want to make us, we want to show off. No, that was not our Queen. Our Queen was one of the richest women in the world, but you would never have seen her flaunting her wealth. When she met people, from the guards, her horse guardsmen, to politicians, to leaders of the world, she was so natural, so respectful, so kind, so loving. Even people like Donald Trump could not help but let you know how humbled and happy and how much they love the Queen. And I could tell when I saw a few shots that they both enjoyed their conversation. Despite what the whole world was talking against Donald Trump and whatnot, you wouldn't even know. Even the way she would treat even the leaders that came from the most horrific African countries where there are no human rights, the Queen received them with grace and with respect. That's some of the things we can learn from Queen Elizabeth II. And with the grace she afforded us, we as British people, and if you're a British person watching this, or anyone from around the world, we can only pray and bless our new King Charles III, that God will grant him the same grace he granted his mother, that God will give Prince Charles III the wisdom, the intelligence, the discernment to surround himself with those who have godly values that will guide him truthfully to lead we, the British people, and the Commonwealth in the next decade, whatever God has in store. And I'll let you know one beautiful thing about our Queen Elizabeth II. Believe it or not, till she passed, it was well known and reported by her personal biographer. The Queen, just like when she made her vow, she put God first. You go back and see that video. I'll try and put a clip somewhere in my channel. She put God first. And those of you who have strong faith in God know, no matter what you are or where you are, for as long as you put God first in your life, in your job, in your business, in anything you do, there's no doubting you are going to be successful. And it was also said, even up to the last 3 or 4 months, I came across the Queen's personal biographer. The Queen every night knelt down to pray before she went to sleep. That was a woman who put God first. And can you not see what God did for her and her country? Not one scandal, not one wavering. The Queen dedicated her life to the people of United Kingdom of Great Britain. She was a queen that saw 14 prime ministers in her lifetime. I'll make a video and talk about some of her experiences with some of the prime ministers and leaders that she had met, starting from Winston Churchill, who came into power. And when the Queen came in as the Queen, then from princess to Queen, and Winston Churchill was the first prime minister she held council with. And I'll let you know, according to Winston Churchill's grandson and people who were close to him, how he came to view the Queen and how the Queen came to view him. Anyway, on this note, like I said, this life was not planned. I am just one proud British woman who made this country my home. This is my home, and I am so proud looking at the way the world is mourning with us, mourning the Queen, mourning with the royal family, the Queen's children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, to see the very beautiful way everything has been planned and executed. It filled me with such pride you cannot understand. And so, as I came back with my family from my church service, my heart swelling with gratitude, and like I said to my husband, I've always loved our Queen. I've always respected her. She's like, as if even her passing, for some reason, feels like in a family member I can't even explain that I never met personally, but I'm feeling the loss because we've all grown up. I was born even in an era, even from Africa to Commonwealth, all over the world, we held Queen Elizabeth II to such high esteem. And then, of course, when I became British myself, and like I said, I love documentaries. I've been to Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace. Everything about the Queen fascinated me. But now, even in her death, her passing, I love the Queen Elizabeth II even more. And I shall continue to try my little best to emulate those characters that she represented us with. If you can pick and adopt her stability for your family, for your life, loyalty to your family, to your life, and those who love you. Integrity is another thing that is used from our Queen. Adopt some integrity. Grace, class, and what a wonderful woman Queen Elizabeth II was. And on this note, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and please help me grow this channel. And for my subscribers, soon I'll be giving you all some wonderful thank you gifts from time to time that will surprise you. Yes, real gifts. So do subscribe so you don't miss any gifts I'll be giving to my subscribers. And share this with your friends and family so they get to know a bit about my channel as well. And on this note, as we look forward, this beautiful sunshine in London, and tomorrow will be the funeral of our late Queen. And I say, pray for the royal family, pray for King Charles III and the royal family and people of the United Kingdom for God to continue to lead our country in the right direction. And thank you yourself for stopping by. And remember, if you have a story you'd like to share, please send it to me. I would love to share your story and see what we can learn and unlearn. And on this note, thank you again. And don't forget, as you're leaving this, please hit the like button. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, I'll say bye-bye. And thank you again for stopping by.